So yes, there's just one point that I'd like to raise, if I may, please, and this goes back to the point that was raised by you yesterday in terms of seeking clarification as to the relationship between Manston Skyport and Lothian Shelf, which has now morphed into Stonehill Park, and in particular Anne Gloag's role in that. And in response to the questions put by you, sir, Mr. King said on instructions that Anne Gloag is not a director of Stonehill Park and she does not have a controlling interest. Do you recall those points being made? I just wanted to put into the inquiry, if I may please, and Mr. King's already received a copy of this document, a short extract from the House of Commons Transport Committee, where that very same question was raised by the committee to the one that you yourself raised, namely what was the relationship between Manston Skyport and Messrs Trevor Cartner and Chris Musgrove, who seem to be the individuals concerned with Lothian Shelf and Stonehill Park. So if I can just ask for that to be, in fact I can hand it to you myself. So. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And this is document 13, I think, yes. And so the only point I wanted to draw your attention to, I mean, this is, as I understand it, the actual report having of the committee, having heard all the evidence that was presented to it. And you'll see if you just turn into the document, there's a subheading which says sale to Trevor Cartner and Chris Musgrave. And at paragraph 45, the committee say, we examined Manston Skyport's statement that it sold the site to regeneration specialists, and that Pauline Bradley, Director Manston Skyport Limited, told us that 80% of the share capital of that business is owned by Mr. Musgrave and Mr. Cartner. And she said we have a minority interest in the business going forward. But the points that the committee then went on to note was it noted at bullet point 1 that the shareholdings as between Mr. Cartner and Mr. Musgrave, 80 A shares and Anne Gloag 20 B shares. But they then went on to note in the second bullet point that that the second sentence, third sentence, sir, if you pick it up there, regardless of her, that's Anne Gloag's minority shareholding, Anne Gloag as holder of the 20B shares and having appointed the B director, so that was Pauline Bradley, holds equal decision-making power to and a de facto veto over Mr. Cartner and Mr. Musgrave. So she holds effectively equal control and power, and in fact actual complete power, because she can veto anything that they decide to do. And then over the page you'll see that the committee found that Anne Gloag holds a legal charge over the Manston Airport site, and the charge relates to a loan to Lothian Shelf, so she's got a mortgage over the airport as well. And you'll also see that the committee made the point that the joint venture agreement between Messrs Cartner, Musgrave and Anne Gloag to redevelop Manston was not in the public domain, and they then went on to say it's unknown how many profits derived from the redevelopment of the airport might be shared, and the allocation of profits need not be in line with the 80-20 share allocation. So I did try and seek clarification on those points yesterday. It just seemed to me that it was important for completeness for you just to have that information in front of you.
Thank you, thank you. As I will ask Mr. King if he has any response to that.
I mean, not particularly. That's fine. The document should go in, but the learned friend commented that in fact Anne Gloag has complete power, and that's not what is said. I would like to take this, as it were, on the words that are adopted and hold equal decision-making power de facto veto, because that has to be a vote of at least one A director and one B director, and one of the B director is appointed by Anne Gloag. So let's not put a gloss on it. That's the first point. And the second point is
ownership issues don't necessarily go to the planning merits of the case. So I just need to make that clear that I'm the planning inspector appointed by the Secretary of State to look at the planning merits of the case. That's my main remit, as it were. So yes, I think that's enough. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Right. Any other housekeeping points before we proceed?
No.
No?
I understand that there is a statement in relation to the point that you raised on the employment matter, sir, but that is still being printed. So.
Thank you very much. Hopefully that will be I've also been supplied with a list of possible conditions, which I will number document 14. It may be useful to discuss the conditions now. So perhaps, Mr. Livingston, would you like to come up to the table so you're not miles away? As I said on a number of occasions, this is a normal part of the appeal process. We always discuss conditions where I'm able to allow the appeals. It doesn't mean to say I've made my mind up. So, the way that this list is drafted is in relation to the four buildings: Building 1, Building 2, Building 3, and Building 4. I will start with Building 1. Have you all got copies of this document? Yeah. Good. So the first condition is a time limit condition restricting the use for 3 years. This is a standard period, really. Now I gather that River Oak don't agree with that time limit. They think it should be less than 3 years. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, I just mentioned,
But please chip in, by the way. This is an informal session, so if you feel you want to chip in, that's more a round table discussion as opposed to
the normal condition obviously would be a commencing condition. This is a limit on this is a temporary permission condition, which perhaps it would be right to describe as normal. Because this is to do when the permission expires rather than when you've got to start.
I was going to say, I would have thought we probably would need a commencement condition, would we not?
Well, I think that the logic on sort of for there not being one is it's only going to renew 3 years. Yes. I'm right in drafting.
Commission shall be proposed from the date of this commission. Yes, I see what you're saying. So
The application was for a 3-year.
Yes.
Was for a 3-year permission.
So the 3 years would run from the date the permission was granted.
It would.
Indeed. So we wouldn't need a commencement condition.
That's, I think, that's it. It would expire anyway. Yeah.
Indeed.
But River Oak say it should be related to a
Yeah. Sorry, no.
No, I just I'm not but they want the date in December next year. That's when they think they may get DPA advice.
mean, it doesn't conflict, does it, with if we had both of those conditions? I don't think it would.
I think it's conflict. No?
You've got strength. I mean, we wanted a commencement, as you pointed out, so if someone wanted a commencement condition, it would seem sensible that it's tied in with the expiration of the permission for study. So it would be the development hereby permitted shall be done before the expiration of this permission grant in the
Yeah.
wherever that is, December 2018. So you would commence it and use it in that
Before it
time.
runs out. That makes perfect sense to me.
You're concerned about not having a commencement condition.
Yeah. So, what was the word you
But it
used?
was for the development, if you use, as Mr King is suggesting, condition 1 for building 2 as the template, it would simply say the development hereby permitted shall be begun before, and then you would simply just insert whatever the date was that you were granting the temporary permission for. So Riverake would say shall be begun before, it would be, I don't know, the 31st of, what are we suggesting, 31st of December 2018.
Okay.
And then it would then go on to say the permission would expire.
I'll have a look at that myself. I mean, I don't think there's any. Obviously, there's a disagreement as to the length of time.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual formulation of the condition, I can look at that myself. So the second condition is the building shall be subdivided. What was the reason for that condition? Perhaps somebody could provide.
As I understand it, that comes from the council. So.
Well, it does.
No, it doesn't come from the council. Because the specific point with regards to the use of these buildings isn't constrained by size. Specifically, there's no justification, there's no spectral assessment as indicated, and need for that restriction.
So why would we need that then?
I believe it's been, the wording has been agreed by each side that there's no sort of problem with this. The council doesn't necessarily see what the ground of that condition would be to justify it. Actually, I appreciate the inspector doesn't necessarily have grounds or conditions, but there's no specific policy which would.
No, I mean, the test that I have, that I have to apply is whether it's necessary.
Yes,
The various tests that apply to condition.
Yeah.
Is it necessary?
The council's view is if the change is agreed, then there's no need for subdivision.
So who suggested this one then?
It's not clear. I refer back to the council's appeal statement in February 2016, where a list of suggested conditions was put on. And I know it was about building 1, but there was a suggested condition with regards to building 2, which related to not subdividing, because the very specific being forward for that building. But there was no restriction put forward by the council in which to stop the subdivision of that. I don't know whether or not either the council or the party want to put forward ideas for why the condition should be required.
I thought it started out. I may have misunderstood the council one, but it referred to units of less than 350 square metres. Now maybe that didn't even that didn't come from the council. Riverake then raised the point that said they wanted a condition, said they said no subdivision at all. I think obviously no terribly explained because they, if permission granted, they wanted as few tenants as you were get rid of as possible, to put it slightly politically, my apologies. And our position, we're happy to
the details to be submitted and approved. It doesn't actually trigger
Yeah.
implementation. Again, we've got the fourth conditions to do with parking and manoeuvring of vehicles. Areas of parking and manoeuvring of vehicles shall be operational in accordance with details to be submitted and approved by the local planning authority. I have no particular comment on that. I understand that River Oak feel that there should be an additional clause that refers to a non-encroachment zone, effectively.
If we're happy with that in principle, it's just a question of how it's worded. Maybe others the best place to explain this. We think that the words that River Oak were not constrained, but it probably ought to say limit anyway, but that's a minor point. The aircraft type, I'm looking at the box on the right. Not constrain or limit the aircraft type over the taxiway is very broad and perhaps isn't precise enough. And we were trying to put a figure in it, but certainly our understanding is that if it doesn't expand exceed 51 metres in the centre of the taxiway from the AVH, possibly Osprey material too, then it won't. But you know,
I mean,
I may have got that.
in a way, surely if the condition requires the details to be approved in any event, surely that's something that can be picked up at that stage.
Explaining where we're coming from. The 51 metres relates to a specific slope and size aircraft. The problem that we've got is that different aircraft are using taxiways, and 51 might not be enough. So if we're going to be specific, it's going to exclude potentially a certain type of aircraft.
We're, I mean, that's a 747, which is the largest aircraft that could use that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. What's after aircraft?
There may be, I'm not sure whether it's a condition. The trouble is, if I specify a specific figure, then there may be some other plane that wouldn't comply with it. My preference would be to leave that for further to be agreed, you know, at a later
Well, the
stage.
details, as you say, have to be submitted.
Well,
The planning authority are aware of the issue and so are the event, obviously.
Yeah.
But the planning authority have control over it and aware that the parking mustn't prejudice the use of the airport should that resume. I mean, that's the point.
I mean, maybe it should just say to take into account, you know, the details should take into account the, you know, possible use of the taxiway or something like that.
Yes, I mean, it could be, yes.
I would prefer to do it that way rather than specifying a you know, 51 metres. I mean, to me that
Right,
sounds,
Sorry, sir. Can I just you just taking some instruction from our aviation expert that points out whether there are larger aircraft that could land, and a Dreamliner could land at Manston, and that would require a greater clearance, and the way that aviation is going, it's getting bigger.
Well, I've just said to Mr. King and whilst we were taking the instruction, that I would think the way around it is to the details must take account of the use of the taxiway. That we have some sort of wording to ensure that that point is picked up without necessarily specifying an exact figure. That can be picked up at a
Yeah, we'd be quite happy for that to be mentioned.
Yeah.
It was clear that was a matter that had to be considered.
Yeah. Because I mean, I haven't got the technical detail before me as to exactly what plans require what clearance and so on. So I think that's the way to deal with that. Then we've got 5, which is Condition 7 relates to the development being carried out in accordance with the approved drawings, and the drawings have been agreed which is specified in Schedule 7 of the Statement of Common Ground. So that again is a standard condition. So I've got no comment on that. If anyone wants to interrupt, by the way, at any point, I will do. Building 2. Again, now this was a permanent application, wasn't it? There's no time limit on this one. Now again we've got a suggested condition from River Oak which would limit the time period.
But not 3 years.
Yes.
I think to be clear, I think we wrote it, I think on the same date as in the first one. Maybe I'm wrong. So December next year then, yeah. And that's why you refer to your appeal document. Yeah.
But I mean the application as made was for a permanent permission.
It was.
So are you, Mr. King, saying that you're happy with a temporary commission being no?
No, I mean you've got the power to do it, and we'd accept it if that's what we decided was appropriate. But we don't accept that it's necessary. Because, well, I suppose for 2 reasons. First of all, there's the question of date, which we submit that there's no dependable evidence. I'll obviously make further submissions like this by closing, but there's no dependable evidence to suggest that December 2018 is the likely date by which the DCO will be granted, let alone that it's likely to be granted at all. But secondly, in any event, if it is, the River Oak will need compulsory powers, and on that assumption will have compulsory powers, and the tenant can be, the vacant possession can be secured through the exercise of compulsory powers, and that's really why we say no condition, no temporary condition is necessary.
No.
But
Whether
as I say,
it be a 3-year or
whether it's 3, 10 or 5 years.
Okay, thank you.
As I say, just to make it clear, if you decided that a temporary condition was appropriate for all 4 appeals, then we'll accept it. But we say it's not necessary. I mean, the application was made to temporary commission for building 1, not because of the possibility of the airport use, but because it's banging with the airport, and it was acknowledged that the appellant's own were going to get rid of building 1. There may or may not be a great deal of logic in that, but that was the reason why it was put forward. And so we're prepared to stick with that. But 2 and the others, we say it's not necessary. That's clear.
I mean, obviously, I would only assess the proposals on the basis on which they were made, rather than, obviously if I start imposing a temporary condition, that rather changes the nature of the application.
You would have the power to do it. It doesn't change it so fundamentally. I would suggest it doesn't change it so fundamentally that you wouldn't have the power to do it. I mean, it obviously would have to be done in light of the evidence. And if you thought that the evidence meant that a temporary permission, but not a permanent permission, was justified, as it were, then you could do that.
I'll ask Ms. Aldrin what your view is on that.
I think that's right. You've got the information in front of you from River Oak insofar as the programming of their DCO, and that's where the temporary condition comes from. It's to tie in with that programme. So I agree with Mr. King that you have the power to impose a temporary condition upon it if you consider that, having looked at the evidence that's been presented, that would be a sensible thing to do, given the promotion of a DCO and the timing of that.
Mr. Livingston, do you have any comments?
I don't believe the restriction in time is necessary. It's the normal 3-year commission.
I mean, I accept I have the power to impose a condition, but
if there was a temporary date on there, the appellants or whoever would be perfectly obliged to reapply for an extension of that if they felt it was necessary. So there is a mechanism to deal with any onward use of the building beyond that date.
I can, in my view, there's no necessity to impose a time limitation on the duration of the plan commission in this instance. We have no evidence before us to suggest that's necessary. Therefore, I think we should stick with what has been applied for.
Could we have a mic, please?
That wasn't what we wanted. If you felt it was necessary met the test, then we'd rather have a temporary commission than no commission.
I would rather be sure the basis on which I'm proceeding with the application. My understanding was that it was that building one was always a temporary application. That's right. Building 2, 3 and 4 were always permanent applications. That's correct. And I'm slightly concerned about changing the basis of that. Because it seems to me that a temporary condition is different from a permanent condition.
Well, Susie, there would be no purpose in imposing a temporary condition on buildings 2, 3 and 4, because the intention of the current landowner is to occupy the building on a permanent basis. The only scenario by which these buildings may not survive on a permanent basis would be if the river BCO is granted, and those circumstances, as we discussed many times before, would come with controlled acquisition powers, which would grant vacant possession of those buildings, which in virtue of that or consequence of that would make them temporary, because it would give it or put an end to that use. So there's no purpose in terms of these planning applications to impose a temporary.
Well, I think Mr. Alston is confusing land ownership with planning permissions, because it wouldn't end the planning permission, because the planning permission would obviously still pertain. But so I'm just a bit concerned. I don't want you to go sort of awry on this, in that I think you've had the submissions from both myself and Mr. King that you do have the power to impose a temporary condition if you thought that there was sufficient evidence to justify that, and that wouldn't change the nature of the application to such an extent that would remove that power from you. So you do have the power to do it. You simply have to come to the conclusion as to whether or not you think, on the evidence in front of you, that's justified. And I think that's what the two lawyers in front of you are telling you. So I wouldn't want you to go away to say that and conclude that you simply just can't do it because you're changing the nature of the application if you thought that it was something that did in fact satisfy the tests.
Yeah, the development for which commission sort of remains the same. With far from urging you to do it, agreeing that you could do it.
Condition 2 relates to compliance with approved drawings which are listed in the common ground statement. Again, that's uncontentious.
There wasn't any reference to the statement of common ground. I think we should list
No.
the drawings out in full.
I would list the plans that are agreed in section 7. I wouldn't put 7 on the plan. Okay, so that's rather than just reading through the shorthand. Okay, so that's just a standard condition that would normally be put on. 3 relates to archaeology. Prior to the commencement of the development hereby approved, the applicant or their agents or successors entitled to show the implementation of the watching brief. I'm not sure why this is necessary in relation to this building, but not in relation to the first one.
If I may.
Yes.
Just come on with the
Building works is one of the extension. So the following conditions, the reason why these conditions are different is because they relate to inclusive groundworks.
And the site has archaeological potential.
all the three where the building works.
There are no building works or operational development associated with building one.
Okay, so there's only this building where there are building works, and that's why there is required. So were I to grant a temporary permission, and that it follows that you have to therefore remove the extension after the 3-year period, is that correct? Well, I understand there's a disagreement between River Oak and the appellants as to the length of the temporary period. I understand that. Yeah.
But that temporary period would only apply to building one.
Well, there's a disagreement on that, and there's also, is there not a disagreement on the time period?
Yes.
So there's two disagreements effectively. There's one as to whether the building should be, whether the development should be permanent or temporary, and secondly, whether the time period should be 3 years or was it 18 months or whatever? Yeah. Less.
More or less. I mean, there's a specific date.
Yeah. Okay. Right. That's a nice conundrum. Okay. 4 is the contamination condition. Again, a reasonably standard condition. I mean, there is also a INS condition that is actually more wordy than this one. I'm not sure whether the INS one and this one say anything particularly different, but I think that the principle is accepted that if development takes place, then investigation to assess any contamination should be undertaken. So I've got no particular comment on that. Condition 5 relates to the storage of oils, again, which was applied to the building 1. I've not got any particular comment on that. Condition 6 refers to piling or other foundation designs using penetrative methods shall not be used other than with the prior written approval of the local planning authority. Was this suggested by the first scheme, is that right?
Yes, it was actually. It's the numbers are so different. It's actually it's 5 on building 1.
Oh, okay.
You'll find it in all 4, I think.
Right. And in fact, this condition, as it's currently worded, it doesn't require any implementation as such, does it? Within a particular time frame. It just says, details of the proposed lighting shall be submitted to and approved in writing by the local planning authority before the development is occupied. So that's just requiring submission and approval. Then it says development shall be carried out in accordance with the approved details. Presumably that would be before the use commences.
Well, not necessarily, because I mean, first of all, there might not be any. But that's I think why it's in any guide. There might not be any. First of all, there might not be any lighting proposed. It's just if there is proposed lighting, then it needs to be approved. But the second sentence probably could be improved.
I mean, doesn't, as long as the details include a timetable for implementation, because as it's currently worded, potentially there's no implementation clause on that condition.
The lighting shall be
Carried out.
provided in accordance with the approved details. Wouldn't that be sufficient?
Well, as long as the only thing, as it's currently worded, the condition only requires details to be submitted and to be approved by the local planning authority before the development is occupied. Normally, you would say development should be carried out in accordance with the approved details or in accordance with the timetable.
Yeah, but it's possible you get approval of lighting and then they don't want to put it in. I mean, I just think that's not. I don't make it overly complicated, but I would suggest the point is the lighting shall be provided in accordance with the approved details. It's sufficient. I don't think that you need a time trigger for that. I mean, they might want to put it in 3 months later. Nothing wrong with that, as long as it's going to be done in accordance with the details.
What's the necessity for this condition?
Oh, it's to do with the possible airport reuse. I mean, unlikely event that the airport reopening means buildings are still occupied by non-airport activities. That's what I think it's aimed at.
I think that was in the light of the Osprey report, wasn't it? That in connection with the Instro precision type of work, which involved laser equipment, there was a concern that would potentially interfere with aircraft landing at the airport, and therefore that's why that condition was imposed.
A bit wide. It applies to any
Yes, it does, but
we're happy with that. I mean, we accept that.
but that's the
But it's
justification for it.
It is to do with the airport.
So in other words, if the airport didn't resume, it's predicated on a situation which may or may not occur, essentially. That condition.
I mean, if it wasn't for the possibility of the airport, would it be necessary? I don't know.
Well, I mean, normally when you're imposing planning conditions on a development,